Carlos Pantoja was born in Machala, Ecuador. He is an engineer in business management. He's president of Dicohierro and CBMC director at Machala, Ecuador. He's married to Maria and they have a teenage son. We warmly welcome Carlos Pantoja to the CBMC Latin American Fifth Convention. Hello, how are you? This is Carlos Pantoja, and I want to thank you for giving yourself this opportunity to share with us in this Latin America Summit of CBMC, the Christian Businessman Committee. Today, I want to talk about family altars for success. A family altar is a time when all the family gets together to share about principles, life principles. We open the best book, the best selling book in the world, the Bible, also known as a manual for life, where we learn about stories, about principles that will bring us to success. I remember that my mom would get us together at 9 a.m. every day. Sometimes it was not at 6, but at 5. And you know that at that time, we want to continue to sleep. But my mom had a strong voice, and she says, "Everyone, get up and go to the family altar." And of course, I was a child, and at that time, I wanted to continue to sleep, but we would get very angry because we thought, "How come she wakes us up too early?" And I think my mom was the most special being on earth because in that time we had those tents. We don't use them anymore, and she would bring it, and then she would remove the sheets, and then we were completely uncovered. Sometimes she would take some water and she would spill the water on us, and we needed to get up, and she made us get up. Even with the lakhs we had, be- there were only two beds. We would call them the general bed, one for three men and one for three women. So it was really complicated. Three of us slept on one bed. So sometimes that is beneficial in childhood because sometimes when we have a lot of room, it makes us to be very comfortable. And sometimes I would say that was part of my education. My mom was also a woman that she was an entrepreneur, and maybe we would have given her the crown of for the entrepreneur of the year. My mother was a woman that would get up very early in the morning. She went to buy groceries in the market, and I remember I was one of her favorite to go with her to the market because with economical problems at home, she always tried to save. Imagine, they needed to support 8 children, so it was very complicated. And she tried to find the best discount possible in vegetables, and she always tried to buy everything like in wholesale. And I think she also conveyed that wholesale concept in us. Now we have a business and we buy materials for construction. That time marked my life because it was the time when I got the foundations for my life. And today I want to say that throughout the years, I've been a businessman and now I have three or a fourth company that commercializes products for construction. And in this journey, I have learned some processes when we have to build a house or make a building. And I've been very interested to know because in order to build something, the first process has to do with the foundation. The foundation, and I was researching. It says foundation is very important because the building will depend from it. The building will be stable for the rest of its lifetime. Now we are finishing the building of our offices, our corporate offices, and in this experience, I've been able to learn a little bit more about this construction process. If I bring this to my story, I think my mother laid the most important foundation, and this is the Lord's word in my life. And I think it has helped me in my personal life, in my family life, in my professional life, and now in my business life. Nowadays, and since 1997, I remember that when the country went through through the greatest crisis in history, the transition to the dollars, we in that time we were planning to make a company. Companies were going bankrupt in that time, but thank God, one day we got together, four partners of this business got together, and we realized that each one of us had some savings. Three of my sisters say, I have 15 million of our currency, another 10, another 8. I had a little bit more, but it was a product of payment because I had been laid off in a company that had given me about 22 million sucres, and we got the capital together. And in that time, we called this business of materials for construction, and with a different name, and the name didn't prosper because it was a name that had been already reserved, and we needed to find another name. And now it is called Dicohierro. I have been working in different businesses, and now having workers reporting to me is a different thing. So I have tried being an employee and now being the employer. And to me, this is very nice. One thing that makes me whole is to be able to create employment. You know that this time employment sources are very scarce. Currently, I'm a father, a husband, and I on August the 10th, I celebrated my 30th anniversary with the only one lady in my life. I won't say the first lady because I have only one, and we had only one son, Carlos Santiago, and next year he is going to finish high school, and it's been a great joy. And now I'm trying to convey to him this legacy my mom left me, and I also practice that with my son. Every night we get together to read and to talk about a Bible paragraph. Times have changed. My son has problems to get up, and now that we have the distance education, he has classes at 8 a.m., so it is kind of difficult for me to waking up very early. But what is important is to do it. We are doing it with him like at 9 or 10 p.m. before going to bed. What is important is that we have this time. When my mom instructed me in this way with this Bible instruction, sometimes I didn't understand why she would wake me up too early, and I didn't understand that. But now that I am an adult, a mature man, I found in this book a proverb that you can see in your screen, Proverbs 22:6. It says, instruct the child in his way, and even when he's old, he won't get away from it. There's a song that says that. It says, instruct the child, not the young one, not the teenager, not the senior person, but the child. So there is the importance of early education, an early education. If any of you uh, knows me, I like also soccer and games. And sometimes the coaches say we have to work on children. If someone wants to get a championship, they need to work since they are children. I remember the evolution of education. When I went to school for the first time, I was 6 and I went to the first grade of elementary. Somebody told me we almost had a mustache and a beard back in those days, but that was the format more than 40 or 50 years ago. Now that I am a father, when my son went to school for the first time, they told me, hey, you need to bring him to nursery. And this is since they are 2. And then they have pre K. And then now you can see the importance of an early education. There are many aspects that I consider are so important that have influenced my life big time, but I want to highlight 4 or 5 of them. The first is education and the ethics and moral. Now we have seen how ethical and moral values are completely declining in our society. We see news and we see how corruption, all this bravery, and all this corrupted system has taken control in state institutions, private institutions, rulers, and that is very unfortunate for our society. That is why I believe, and like I said before, it is important that we can bring again subjects that have been removed from schools like civics, ethics. And in my testimony, I can say that this influence in values, Christian values and principles, brought me to be aware that now that I am an adult, now I am aware of my actions and I do this with a sense of ethics and moral. There is another very important point, and I think it is the result of this Christian education my mom left me as a legacy, and this is that it made me a man of faith and hope. Faith is a certainty of what we expect and the conviction of what we don't see. In other words, you don't worry about tomorrow. I'm not saying to be irresponsible, but you know that when you have faith and if you believe in God, you are certain that tomorrow is safe. I remember that in this time of my childhood with my mom, many times we didn't have food and we needed to put that faith into practice. And we would pray and say and ask God for our food. And we said, God, we believe you are our provider. You will supply all my needs. And it was wonderful because then there was a knock on the door and it was a neighbor. And she said, Mrs. Rosita, I have this present for you. And it was bananas or any other fruit or something that was good for us to go to eat and then to go to sleep. And the result of this faith and this hope that has been rooted into our lives now, in the moments, in the times of need, we know and we have where to go. Of course, there are many needs that can be supplied, and maybe there are institutions in this world, but the first thing we do is pray to the Lord and ask Him for a problem or a need we are going through. And therefore, last year, 2020, with the pandemic, I had a very tough crisis because businesses closed. We were not able to produce. We had uh, accounts to pay our employees, pay our suppliers. The banks were calling us, but there was a moment when I felt overwhelmed and desperate. But then I remember and I said, okay, I have to pray. We pray to God, and the first thing He brings is the tranquility in the midst of the storm. And this tranquility God put in my heart allowed me to think, to plan what we would do in the midst of this crisis. Thank God the story is different. Now we have been out of the crisis and we've been able to see all these problems. We don't owe anything to our suppliers. We are good with all of our compromises, and thank God we are ready to move forward. Another thing we can highlight is that He has brought us to family integration. These times of koinonia, to open the Bible and to share a verse from the Bible, and it would bring integrity and to integrate and to have more unity with the family. And this is something really special because now, as you can see, families are being more and more disintegrated. Technology has us more connected, but with more distance. We have more connectivity, but with more distance. And having these times brings us to the face to face and to know what your need is, what your problem is, what your concern is, and then bring it in prayer to God. And this has been very valuable. Maybe all of you seeing me in this time, if you are businessmen, if you are professional people in the business environment, we say, what is the key to success? And I want to say that I know for some there are many keys, but to me it was the key to success. Like I said before, it was the important part of the foundation. And also the fact that my mom included me since I was very little with these Christian principles, I think it has to do with the success and the prosperity I had in my life. There is a verse in the Bible, and God was talking to Joshua, and He says, this book of the law will always be in your mouth, and day and night you will meditate in it for you to do according to what is written in it. Because, and listen this, because then your way will prosper and everything will be good. I think this is the key for things to be okay. I think sometimes we want to find shortcuts in to get to the prosperity, to a life of wholeness, to success. But I want to say that to me it was the key aspect to remain firm to these Christian principles, like it says in there, meditating day and night, being faithful to those principles. And for that reason, I am what I am now. I thank my mom and I thank this instruction in this book. Like I said, I think this is the manual for the life. And I also want to leave a message to every parent, every father, every mother watching this. Please don't give up with your children, on your children. Maybe you are having problems with your children. Maybe you see things are difficult. Your child's attitude is difficult. but the Lord's word says it will never go back empty. It is good to sow. Remember, our children can be, figuratively speaking, they can be the soil, and the word of God is the seed. So we must plant these seeds in them, like the word says, on time and out of time. It- if it's the best time is when they are children, but also the word says that we must do it out of times. If this is not the time and maybe your son is old, he has grown up, maybe he doesn't want to know anything about God, try to find times where you can share. First, like a father, share and have communion with him and try to teach him the Lord's word, because this will produce in him this seed, and sooner or later it can come and will make a better person in him. God bless you and thank you very much.